Mighty Chuluun, says Ulun the Smiling. Your Khan brother's offer is a kind and generous one. We cannot refuse him. The Dalat should winter with their friends and allies, the Naican, the true Naican, he says. And he'll gesture to the bowl before you that you up at the same time as he, and he'll sup, looking across the milk as he drinks, in agreement on the proffered deal. His demented grandmother sits swaying in the background behind him. Altani stands ready for war, silent sentinel, as the negotiations have gone on from late afternoon to the evening.
Yeah, Chuluun will drink from the bowl and look at Altani, and then he'll say, "The only Naican." But the offer is still there. It's good that you accept.
He sets it down. Kotju and his Western allies have raided us these past months since the Zamogedi fell. It is not tenable to remain here. Spring pastures with you east of here will find our alliance stronger.
I agree. There's much to discuss. Other tribes that we'd like to speak to that perhaps have problems with the Naican, but are friends of yours.
You leave at dawn. I rue it that I can offer you such fleeting hospitality, but you have it, and we will follow your trail back to your brother's lands before deep winter. And he'll gesture that a couple of the servants can take away your bowls.
Yes, indeed. A fleeting visit, but there's much to do, always, as winter sets in.
Indeed, he says. If there is nothing else, we shall see to those things.
You have friends in various tribes.
He nods.
Some of them have bad blood with the Naican. We want to put that to bed. We'd like to gather some of them. You'll help us in this?
Of course, as you have helped us in the past. What were you thinking?
The Kagun, certainly. We'd like to speak with them. They're your friends, are they not?
Our ancestors are blood brothers, yes.
Well, we'd like to speak with them. Here in the middle of these lands, there are a few tribes, and I think Teneka thinks that more peaceable agreements would be helpful for everyone.
We shall come east with you and share gur and meat with Naican and Kagan both.
Beyond that, there's the Uyghur. They're your friends also?
Aye, the masked tribes have our friendship. During the hard times after the collapse of Yaimona, it was but for their friendship that we survived.
Well, we'd like to speak with them too.
This could be arranged after the spring waters have ceased. In summer, a gathering of the folk. A festival? A tournament?
I think so, yes.
He smiles. Let us work to that end in summer. Once the rivers can be crossed, we'll invite the Kagan and Uyghur to the plains.
Good. He'll nod. And I think leaves it hanging, but it's clear that Chuluun thinks that the Dalat owe them a lot. It's probably clear from the way that he holds himself and the way he looks around this place. Maybe it's wherever Chuluun goes. He thinks he's superior, but he definitely exudes it here.
Yeah, there's some like mysterious, like not veminance, but like ire on his part as well. That perhaps the Dalat think the same of the Naican's actions against the Zamogedi.
Hmm.
That you struck them a mortal blow at the baggage train is no question, but it did not save the Dalat on the Bergia plains.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So it's kind of those two subtexts permeating the conversation as well, unspoken but felt by both.
Yeah, I mean, to Chuluun, that's a Dalat problem, and that's their own problem.
Mm.
They're the heroes as far as he's concerned. We should celebrate then while I'm here.
Of course, how would you wish? I can bring singers, players, more food.
Why not?
Indeed. And he'll call for it, and it will be done. Bowls of fare and skins of arak brought warm mare's milk with swirls of blood.
Yeah, Chuluun will drink and like encourage the warriors among them to like drink with him, like engage in games of like drinking games and things like that. Um, he's very confident.
When you bring out your own skin, they like smile at the gift and will definitely indulge and become merry.
Yeah, he's very confident in his ability to like outdrink anyone in this tribe, um, and has like learned techniques to ensure that he doesn't become like a drunken mess. And so he'll like sort of surreptitiously, maybe not drink as much as everyone else, but definitely encourage them to get beyond merry into drunkenness.
They'll do so. It's some hours later when Ulun, rose-cheeked himself, though not indulged like some of his men, will call to retire, and all will rise at their Khan's summons. Some will sway a little and go off to their own gers and families after the negotiations and feast thereafter have finished. As the men are dispersing and Ulan is ushered away with his grandmother and servants, Altani will like stride up and, not meeting your eye, thrust out your own blades, relinquishing her duty for the evening.
Yeah, he'll take them and look at her.
She'll turn her eyes to meet yours. Is there something else?
He like looks around, trying to gauge like who's around and who, like when the best time is. He's not sure. He's never done this before, and so he doesn't know like what the procedure is, even like what you're supposed to do. He's trying to figure out like, do I just grab her, or do I tell her, or many questions.
One of your men is laughing with one of hers, arm in arm, as they like walk out the gur and into like the, and it flaps back into warmth, and a few others begin to disperse. She kind of eyes them with something bordering on contempt, and then looks back to you.
You'll be coming with me.
We will follow you east, as my brother says. Yes, she says, looking at the door,
No.
envisioning further duty.
No, you will be coming with me.
Her eyes level with understanding after a couple of moments. The same kind of moments it takes you to reach understanding, I guess, the exact same amount of time. And then she turns away from you. We'll see about that. And she strides off.
He's not sure now what to do. He's supposed to grab her. And he'll like move. He's definitely faster than she is until he's standing in front of her. And he'll just sort of like shake his head and shrug his shoulders. You can't outrun me.
Probably not, she says, but I might outride you or outfight you.
I think it's unlikely. And he does this like sort of gesture like, if you want to try it.
My brother said that you might come for me. I did not think it would be like this.
What did you think?
She shrugs unknowing and can't speak further on it.
If you want, you can go back to your yurt and I can grab you in the middle of the night and drag you onto a horse. It's all the same, really. This seems preferable.
And Chuluun, son of Yargai, are you taking me because you desire me as your wife, or because your brother has commanded this for his own power?
It's no intent of an insult, but if he wanted power, it would not be the Dalat that he would send me to marry into.
She glowers and spies the truth of your words and feels them cut a little. And nods.
He's not sure now. Is that it? Like, he's trying to figure out, like, is it done now? Does he have to, like, drag her onto a horse and ride away in the middle of the night? Or does he wait until morning? If he rides away in the middle of the night, is it, like, some sort of crime? It's, like, all very unclear. And no one really has told him or tells anyone.
Yeah. There's no shaman in the Marmot Hollows, and Yargai is gone. And so they're the two who are meant to teach you.
I think he like looks at her and says, "Let's go now, then."
She looks to her gur, sort of like in the direction that her gur would be, through the wall of this current one, and then glances towards the door. Out into the night and the cold, with you and 2 skins of arak. What of our duty, you to your men and me to my brother? She puts her hands on her hips and raises an eyebrow.
Well, I'm going back there, and so are you. The men know the way. And your brother will figure it out when we're gone in the morning.
It might be better that way, if that is your wish.
I think so. Is there anything you want to get from your gur before we go?
She'll nod slowly and walk away.
Yeah, he'll like take a second and like look down at his feet and like let out this like breath of like how uncomfortable he is, and like he doesn't know any of this. This is like really complicated.
One of the drunken Dalat men look at you with bloodshot eyes and shows his black teeth and gives a before like walking out into the cold with his companions. Yeah. You see the way she went, and you see the way they went, and you see the way your own men went to their gurs.
Yeah, I guess he like watches to see if she jumps on a horse. But if she's going to her gur, he'll wait. And sort of
give me a perception check.
Inspect his fingernails and see what he can figure out. It's a 19 on the die. So 23.
Yeah, you spy soon after a couple of the ladies of the Dalat who are awoken and like enter into Altani's gur. A moment later, 2 emerge. One appears at first glance to be Altani, another her handmaiden, but her hood's low over her face, while another has slipped out the back and is running towards the stables.
Okay.
Through the sleep.
I'll initiate the fastest run that I can do. Start moving really, really quickly in that direction. Trying to like get to the horse before she does.
Before she does, you have monk speed, so you're able to get to the stables as she does, and she rushes towards her horse jumps up on top of it and begins to ride it out from underneath the briar.
Yeah, I'll try and like run and jump onto the back of it.
Opposed animal handling check.
14.
It's more like grabbing hold of her than like properly mounting the beast, but it rears up as you do, and it doesn't manage to throw you off. And she'll begin elbowing you into the ribs underneath the armpit, winding you while she like rides out into the sleet, hoof printing the snow cloak.
Yeah, I'll use like my martial arts skills to like hook my arm underneath hers and sort of like Nelson maneuver and try and pull her and me from the horse into the snow.
Yeah, the horse thunders off out of sight of the camp, and a few of the drunks laugh. Others call. The handmaidens cry out as they're foiled, and you disappear before wrenching her off the beast. It thunders off too, and you guys into the snow, rolling uncomfortably, winding yourself if you weren't already, struggling.
Is it definitely her? I'll check.
Yeah, when you whip the cloak away, it is her face, red cheeks, glare, and like the mist of her hot breath.
He'll look at her and say, "A good attempt. Don't do it again." Do you understand me?
She gives a nod while she's trying to catch her breath, and something like a dagger slit of a smile.
You think that was funny? Do you see how fast I am? How strong I am? There's no getting away.
She flashes her teeth and looks down to where you can see her woman's knife held towards your groin, where she lays pinioned by you and your weight upon the point.
He'll laugh, and then like really swiftly and unexpectedly sort of move, like leap back and onto his feet, and then like kick a bunch of snow on top of her, and like stand back to see if she stands.
She will, toothing her bottom lip, putting the dagger back in and looking about at the sleet.
Do you know yet that I win?
She'll step towards you, and it will fade to black. Karan, east of this place, on the outskirts of Kumira, you're overseeing with 11 men the building of a watchtower as ordered by your Khan brother. And as ever, these last couple of days, there's the three riders just beyond the fringe of the river, who sit on their mounts watching the artifice of Teneka's command. And as you like heft another pylon on and like a malleting it in place, and groaning in the weight of it with the other men, the smell of camp and horse stink. Another one of the men next to you spits into the ground and utters some curse into this frustrating observers further east beyond. "I am glad it is nearly done," he says to the men next to him. "I like that knot," thumbing over his shoulder before straining to lift up another portion of wood from the dissembled wagon wain nearby. Your fellow scouts amongst those you've brought with you have reported that the Quirish clan beyond are wintering as ever in Kurmira, and they count 100 Gurs thereabouts within the confines of those ruined walls and broken stone houses. They've been bleeding and eating their horses, it's been seen, across the river, the latest reports tell. Karan, as the reports go to you here, most senior amongst this cohort. The weather is clear. The sky above is blue. It's chilled, so it pinks your cheeks, but it's not so unpleasant that you cannot work, and you are so close to completion that you've urged the men on. Chibe gives you an uneasy look. The old man who's come to serve you since the battles and the battles at the Firepeak. His glance shoots to them on the horizon, and then back to the nails he's thumbing for, going to his work.
We will raise this tower of the plains dwellers and city dwellers, and please, our Khan, ignore the admiring looks of our neighbours. Show them how quickly we can produce these things, and then we'll set up a little feast to celebrate as the sun goes down, and wherever the feast will continue to the fire of the feast will continue to burn, but maybe we'll go and pay them a visit in the night, see if we can find them in the pitch black. What do you say to that?
Could you repeat that? Sorry.
When we finish, we will light a campfire at the base of the tower, and celebrate for completing the structure. But then, as the light fades, we'll keep the campfire going, but use it as a diversion. One person will move blocks in front of the fire and move backwards and forwards to give the impression that we are there and still feasting, whilst the others move out under the cover of darkness to spy on our spires and maybe scare them in the dark.
The men who hear the plan flash their teeth in assent and will take more eagerly to their work. Chibe nods to, dusting his hands from the toil or crunch over the light snow towards you. A wise plan, master.
So once the tower is completed, my men know me and know that I have little. My heart is not in the building of towers. Such he considers buildings and buildings, jails, and things to limit your movement rather than. He thinks the only real place for the Tarn is on the back of a horse, and maybe in a yurt that you can move, but in a permanent building like this, he has contempt for it, but he follows his Khan's commands. And they set up a little fire and break open, maybe slaughter once the building is complete. They bring up one of their goats, pull back its throat, hold it steady and pull back its throat and rip its throat out with a bloody cut of the knife, silhouetted against the campfire that they have lit, and then start swiftly and efficiently. They skin the goat and start cutting up the meat, wrapping the choicest parts in fat and cooking it on the fire to celebrate their victory as the night goes down. But a stone has been, I don't know. A stone is hidden in one of the pieces of meat, and I hide a stone in one of the pieces of meat, and whoever gets the stone is one who has to stay by the campfire and move, and they can all choose their meat first. So there's a chance that it will be me.
Ooh, okay, so there's 12 of you. I'm going to roll a d12. And yeah, one of the men groans and the others next to him are like, give a and he will have to stay and tend the flames in the camp while you guys get to have fun.
I'll also instruct him that he's not only he'll tend the flames, but also he's got to this bundle here will when the light goes down will replace Malik here with this bundle, and Sadak with this bundle, and you have to move around and make it look like there are still the full 12 of us here. Understood?
Yes, Karandan, he'll say, and put his hands together before him and bow.
I slap him on his forehead as he's about to bow. We'll have less of this signalling of orders and around here. We're just chatting around a campfire. Don't forget what we are doing. Pour me some more kimmies. Anyway.
He'll do so, and you can still taste it hours later when you've crawled on belly with 7 or so of your men fanned out around you in a semicircle, hemming in the camp of the 3 watchers.
3 watchers?
And their horses, they're all asleep. The horses are tethered. One man tends the fire and stands watch.
Right, my men are young riders, and they're not that they've done all right, and they're quite skillful in stealth, but I don't really want to risk them too much. What's my sort of judgment on the capability of these 3 watchmen?
And they must be decent if they were sent in such small number. They obviously were happy to show themselves to you for more reasons than one, no doubt. Their horses were well kept and they had war gear on them, so not young riders, you'd assume.
Any weaknesses that I've noticed?
Number, I guess, maybe, and predictability. Like they'd have to rush to the fjord of the river to get back to Kurmira, so you know the direction they might flee, and if they should flee. And the other weakness is obvious is number.
And what's the night like? Will it cover
clear as the day?
Damn. Well, I've committed us to this now. There's one awake, isn't there? On watch, and the other 2 are resting. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll be training the others. Basically, they've got to creep in as I'll go up into a position where I'll move in first and get into a position where I've got where I've got him within range of my bow, and then I'll sort of gesture for one of them at a time to come forwards, and as soon as the first one makes a mistake, I'm letting my arrow fly, but I'm going to go in first, and hopefully get into a position where I can take down the man in one, but I probably won't.
That'll depend on a stealth check.
Okay, I get a 20.
You can creep up so that you can get the man, at least a silhouette of him as he's squatting at some point, and will have advantage on your first arrow.
Okay. So then, one by one, I'll sort of once I've got that, I'll kind of my plan was for the others to come in one at a time and try and also get to positions where they could fire arrows at the same man. But sooner or later, I'm expecting one of them to fail, and however many have got into position will let their arrows fly.
I'll roll for them with disadvantage for the night time. And there was 7. 4 still manage to hit, so you can roll 4d6 plus 8 onto your damage.
4d6 plus 8. Okay, let me just work out the entire damage then. 4, 76. That is a total of sorry about this.
It's all good. I'm assuming it's a lot.
Pardon?
I'm assuming it's a lot of damage.
Yep. It will. Well, it's a fair amount. I rolled really badly, so so we've had bad luck. 32.
Yeah, several of the arrows miss, but more than a few strike him. And as he's like trying to rise and like call out, he's just struck by another one and falls down to the ground, sending up like cinders from the fire. The others begin to stir.
Then we'll run up and grab the horses and ride away on the horses.
Oh, nice. So by the time they've scrambled up to grab, like they would have slept with their swords or axes, but they'll rush to their bows as in all this chaos. And as they can let the first couple of shafts fly, you're already like, yip, 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 riding off with their horses. They struggle with their stricken companion. I think there's a chance, unless you're going to try like butcher the 2 remaining guys, that they'll be able to recognize you as the workmen or Chugans from the watchtower.
If
maybe there's a moment where one of them watches you and it slows for a moment as he eyes you riding off on his horse.
I'll smile at him, and yeah, the last thing he sees is a grin and a wave as I disappear into the night.
Yeah, the next morning your men report that the watch.
I like your horse. You hear a shout coming out of the darkness.
I will catch you and trample you, he calls, and the other man's cursing as well, crying in rage at the death of the arrowed man. Yeah, you ride off, disappearing. Well played, sir. Those guys in the morning are gone back east across the river, no doubt. With the watchtower complete, you can gather your loot, and leaving a detachment of warriors here to see to the thing, return as ordered to the Hollows to speak with Teneka. Sanai, you and the 30 warriors under your command are dressed as Zamogedi reindeer and Commani rams. The rising cold and harsh conditions of the past weeks may have just paid off. You've tracked the caravan bound east on the Goldway, headed towards Cormira. And a score of men on hardy steppe horses, a large wagon and smaller wain, drawn by aurochs and flanked by several warriors and wretched folk, have trudged and by foot through the snow as the path has grown short between you, your 2 parties. When their wagon stalled yesterday in the snow, you gave the order for the start of the attacks. Arrow fire from hidden positions, fainted routes, devastating cavalry charges, and now the killing strike. Several men back to back or shoulder to shoulder kind of form up around the wagon as if it might be something they could protect against the onslaught as your mounted warriors yip and cheer and hack and slice and spurt blood all about as warriors struggle and fall. 2 men in shao raiment brandish spears at you and the horse beneath you, and a caravan guard trying to contend with the screaming or bellowing aurochs from atop his charge is being shouted at by the Rashamani who had been next to him with the whip. There is what looks to be a monk standing by to the wagon wheel, not attacking anyone and not engaging, not fleeing for his life, acting strange as men are wont to do in battle. and a rider like thunders past you and cuts the head off some assailant who was just broken from the fray. I'll get you to roll initiative, Taylor.
All right. It has been a long time since I've rolled initiative. Oh, what's my modifier? Shoot, where's my I don't know my modifiers. It's been too long. Okay. That is only a 12.
The monk does nothing but enter a defensive pose, holding his staff, closing his eyes, and limbering himself up. And then it's your turn. These two Xiao warriors like screaming at you in their tongue, brandishing their spears. One looks like he's going to attempt to try and gut the mare beneath you, and while the other try and finishes you off when you're spilled. That's kind of how they're pairing up. The guide of the caravan guard seem more intent on like taming the aurochs and hauling the wagon away. Futile compared to the speed of your horses, even in this light snow.
Sarnai will, faced with the threat against a horse, as she's wont to do, she will go into her rage, and then from the back of the horse, she will strike down with the Zamogedi blade at the guy with the spear.
Mm-hmm.
Natural 20.
Roll damage.
That was one of the
Xiao warriors.
One of the weapons in the dock. Is that a D6 for the scimitar?
Scimitar's D6, yes. That'd be 2D6.
So that is 13 all up.
You part his head from his shoulders, ending his scream.
And then I will take my second attack against the second warrior, seeing the pale of his face. It's only a 7 on the die. 14.
No, the strike is kind of rebuffed by the reach of his spear, and he'll like thrust it up at you, try and like drive it in your midsection to spill you from the saddle. Unless you can do anything further, sorry.
Nope, that's it for me.
Cool. But at 11, I'm assuming it's easily parried by yourself. The Rashomon guide will like take his whip from the aurochs, realizing it's useless, and from the height of the wain will like stride over to its edge and try and coil the thing about your throat and pull you off. So he's going to try and do a to hit with the whip, which is a crit fail. So I imagine you catch it in one hand and then like bring it down with your sword hand and slash the whip. He'll have disadvantage on his next whip strike. The caravan guard will take the lead of the guide, haul out his blade and like slip from some of the frost that's fallen on the seat as he like scrambles back up again and jumps down into the snow and rush up from behind and slash into the hind quarters of your horse. He will be flanking by one of the Xiao guards, so he'll have advantage, but still it's a miss somehow. The horse rears up and like steps aside. The monk does nothing amongst the chaos, and like some man stumbles past him, spurting blood across, staining the monk's vestments. Doesn't like engage or like finish off the man where someone else might, but almost seems to be praying for him, and that's about all he'll do. Sanai.
The man with the whip that she's just kind of grabbed with the hand and pulled on. That's a different one than the one that hit her. She's going to go for the one with the horse, I think, but that's going to miss. That's only a 14 to hit again.
That's on the guard, the caravan guard, which just misses. Yep.
That was the first attack, and then the second, 2, is also a miss.
Ooh. Yep. The remaining Shao warrior will drive his spear up again. Actually, no, he's just going to like swing it and try and smack you off the horse with a push attack. So opposed
Ooh.
athletics, please. The 18.
Post athletics. I'm raging. I think I get advantage on athletics when I'm raging.
I believe so.
Okay. So that's a 16 without advantage. Let's see. Okay, 20.
Yeah, you get advantage.
Yeah, so
Thank you,
he
guys.
tries to clatter you with the spear, but you rebuff it. The Rashomon guide will not relinquish the height of the Wayne and will attack with disadvantage with his whip at you, and it's a miss. The caravan guard will try and take out the horse again for a hit. Your horse will take 6 piercing damage, and the monk will do as before. He'll kneel down over the dying men as he blubbers blood and put a hand on his chest and speak some words as he dies. Sarnai.
Sarnai, surrounded as she is, strikes out at the one who has speared her horse. God damn it, crit fail. I'm going to get a different dice after this. What happens with my crit fail?
Nothing.
Okay. The next one is a 17 on the die, so that one will almost certainly hit. As if this is the one who's just, I believe, speared the horse.
From the rear.
Mm-hmm. So she is twisting in the saddle, having heard the horse's scream and felt the jolt from it. And she will turn, and with her right hand, the strike, he ducks under, but he doesn't see the left hand with the second attack coming in. And that's going to be only 8 damage.
Okay, that badly bloodies him but doesn't kill him, but does system shock him. So roll a d10.
3.
He falls unconscious for d4 rounds.
Yes. So those were my 2 attacks. I think that's all I've got for this round.
Okay, the remaining Shao warrior will, the same as again, try and push you off the horse. Oppose athletics for a, probably don't bother, 9.
Yeah, no, 14 on the die for me.
The guide will try and grab you around the throat with the whip. For a miss, it cracks overhead, but you duck under it. And then the guard just slumps to the ground, brutally wounded and begins bleeding out while he's unconscious. The monk will move over to the dying caravan guard and pray over him as he falls. Someone stumbles past the monk, mortally wounded, doesn't think to strike the man, and just goes off into the other carnage being wrought now by your fellow riders. Sano.
So there's the guy with the whip that just cracked, and then there's another one.
A spearman, one of the Shao
Okay.
warriors.
This one's for the whip guy. As she strikes at him, 19 to hit.
That's a hit right up next to the wagon and slash up at him.
Mm-hmm. And pretty good damage. 9 plus 4, 13.
Yeah, he slit his belly open and his gut spills out, and then he spills out of the wagon. The horse rears as you turn to the next foe.
Yeah, the horse rears, and it's a perhaps fearsome sight with the blood-soaked blade and the horse that is screaming even as Sarnai is yelling. That is 16 to hit.
That hits.
And 7 damage as she strikes down at this last Shao
D10,
warrior.
please.
Ooh. 4.
He falls unconscious for D2 rounds. And at that, as your sword rises up out of the last foeman, a cry goes up and a whistle and a woot from all of the warriors about you as the last couple of the foemen like stumble down into their deaths, already prostrate or are already prostrate with their like heads bowed before you and your victorious warriors. One wain is ditched into the side of the road, the other stands with its panicked aurochs straining. And there's the of all these warriors like laying about in their last throes, and a few men of yours dismount to see to your own wounded and slain, which are few. And here a score of foemen plus slain, their goods captured and prisoners to boot, 2 men by your own hand, as well as others that will be brought to your attention as the inventorying begins.
And what's in the wagon?
When you open it up, there's a very sickly old man. The carriage stinks of his waste and is like the high pinch of urine. And there's like a bucket here and like rags and bandages. And he's dressed like what a weird rich Shao priest would dress like if he was then in like a sweat lodge and covered in his own waste. And he's dying and croaking and roomy eyed, and it smells like evil spirits in there to you.
Yeah, she'll like close the wagon covering back and take a step back, and then turn to look at the monk, seeing if there's any recognition or knowledge on his face. This strange man who did not fight.
Not concern, but like interest. Like as he like walks towards you, raises his palm up and in like very, very crude Tugan tongue. Peace, she wolf. Please, do not stain your soul further with bloodshed. My master is for death already, and needs not your hand in the going.
Where does he go? Where do you take him?
He was bound to his family beyond the Dragon Wall, but we were delayed in Demara. The Scarlet Witch is there. My master has it. It has claimed him and will kill him. I am here to sustain his soul, to forbear with him till he returns, and make the prayers and light the incense, as he requested of our order, of the way. And he bows his head.
Have we heard of this way?
You've heard of all manner of like crazed beliefs and religions out in the wilder worlds where like the heathens dwell.
Mm-hmm.
This something like this wouldn't be unusual to you. Your clan or culture certainly don't worship it, but there are those who served under Yamun Khan who observed the southern and eastern traditions of the Way and other branches of that type of religion.
Okay. Yeah, she will simply shake her head. That is a strange concept. Is there anything else around this wagon, or is it just the old man?
As your soldiers like not rip it apart, but kind of rip it apart, there is between this wain and the other wagon, there's supplies and food for like the travelers, and in excess of that, there is food, furs, tools, clothing, wax, oil, leather, steel. The 4 aurochs, the wagon, the wain, and the armor and armaments of 20 plus men, and half of their horses. The other half of their horses were shot to pieces by your men as per their tactics. So you'll gain another 11 horses. They'll be geldings and mares.
Ooh.
I'll actually type all this out for you so you can add it into the doc.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Sarnay will somewhat oversee the gathering of such wealth. And we're not dressed as wolves. We're dressed as the Commani, right?
Zamogedi and Commani, yep.
Mm-hmm. I think Sarnai wearing the Zamogedi colors will kind of nod to this monk as they continue loading. She'll leave them with a few days worth of food. But she has no interest in this strange man, and he's no threat to them.
A blood-soaked boojeg, a warrior gifted to you by your brother, who's so confident and lusty for blood so far. He comes up still wet and hot with the battle and says, "What of these, mistress?" And he points with his bloody sword towards where a couple of prisoners have been hauled up. The two men who are groaning in unconsciousness that you took down, as well as a corpulent man who's screaming at his missing fingers, while several of your men pore over his fingers, pulling off rings and jewels from them. There's a man who's chained in a wretched condition and frostbitten, who is along with the other kind of wretches who are kind of bound towards one of the wagons. Slaves or thralls or whatever you want to call them is almost certainly your guess for them. And then he shrugs as he puts his sword back next to his side as if he's asking out of formality. It's clear what he's going to do to them.
She'll kind of nod. Keep the strong. We have no need for the weak.
He'll nod and whistle to the two men who are it looks like they're poring over runes as they squabble over the fingers of this man and his rings.
Oh.
They'll quickly remember their duty and go up and just gut him, kick outside his corpse and rob him. And they'll kill the chained slave. They'll kill the wounded man, the two unconscious men who likely die of the wounds you gave them anyway. But the two mercenaries who yielded, the Semfari and the Demaran, are strong by technicality, so he'll grumble as he commands his men to take those ones alive, and they'll bind them to your saddle horns, as all is told and borne up behind you and now rediverted west back to the Hollows and Teneka.
Sarnai looks at the blood that has stained what snow there is, looks at the monk, and her face is expressionless. There's no guilt to her. They would not have survived the winter when they were so weak. 'Tis more of a mercy. She'll spur her horse back towards her brother and her Khan.
Burjeg will ride alongside you and thumb back at one of the men tied to your saddle horn, and he'll say, "The Semfari spoke they were headed for Kumir, where your younger brother is. Perhaps these supplies were meant for them, east. A pity to deny them so, eh?" And he'll flash yellow gravestones of teeth.
It is my brother's own fault if he cannot bring such wealth to the Khan. 'Tis not my fault I got there first.
He nods, smiling, appreciative of the carnage, of the loot, of the expression of the Naican way. His rebirth as a wolf, and he'll gesture over his shoulder as the other men fall in, and off you head back west to the Hollows. Teneka, the Naican camp is at peace. The hungry eat. The cold have gurs and good deals to wear. And this winter marks a year since your exile began. It's kinder than last, though it's not over yet. Gerbasu combs the knots from your long, dark hair, then takes a cloth embroidered with the imagery of your people from a steaming pot and wipes away the day. Fires low and smelling of mutton fat burn hot here in the room center, but there's a low oven where food is set atop black iron pots. It's toasty in here compared to the dangerous chill outside. You see the swell of her belly as she leans close, sopping at the shoulders, neck, and behind the nape of your hair. She glows in her childbearance. She catches your gaze as you eye her. A son, I have dreamed it, Teneka. And she wrings out the rag.
Tanaka will meet her eyes, and he'll give a nod. He knows of her dreams and her foretold future. She knows things that he's unaware of, and she is, of course, the mother to his child. She must know if it's a son.
These you have not spoken of, she says, wiping down the long scar tissue that runs from your left shoulder to your right hip, and then the one that sickly and dissymmetrically mimics it, sewn there by Kochu, the sign of your adulthood.
I'm sorry, that broke up. I didn't catch the first part of that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, she's cleaning the scar tissue of the X on your chest sewn by Kochu when you were exiled from the Naican in the west. And remarks that you've never spoken of this.
It's a wound that's deeper than just skin and flesh. Some things are... Sometimes things are best left unsaid. They're best left to dwell upon. Sometimes there are those who understand the wound and the hurt it gives much better than can be expressed. And you talk to it with them, and only them.
She'll nod and set back to cleaning and say only, "You'll have to kill him one day."
I expect so. I expect there will be a lot of killing before then. Tell me, in your dreams, do you see our son? Do you see him growing up? What kind of life does he have? Do you know this?
The rag drips into the bowl, and she can't meet your gaze after the words, and you can see like the reveries of the dreams being borne up behind her eyes at your words. And she says softly that the servants or guards outside couldn't hear. He was a wolf eating a wolf. That will be his life.
I'll take the rag from her hand and continue cleaning off some of the wounds myself. A wolf eating a wolf.
She'll go to speak, but then there's like footsteps on the mat outside. "My Khan," you hear Garen's voice and hear the chink of arms telling you that there's at least some other men with him as well. You can hear like Tokuko and some of the other servants decrying them. "The Khan is busy and will not be disturbed." They push past her to ask that of you.
I'll stand up and motion to Gerbasu to help me into the furs.
She'll do so. Forgive me, Khan. You told me to come when the wolves had returned. Your brothers and sister are come from the Gold Way, Khan.
No, don't tell me I'm away again.
Can you not hear us?
Can we hear you? I can hear you.
Hello.
Checks.
Hi, checks.
Yeah, I can see the things moving, but I can't hear anything.
Uh-oh.
Fantastic.
The gambit indeed.
Shall we have a break there and then come back for the reconvening of the siblings?
Sorry about that. I can hear you now. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
What?
Cool. We're just discussing a break checks. So this is something that you want. Anything else you want to do? End that scene differently.
I missed, just in case anything happened after I stood up and got the furs on.
Garan just elaborated and said, "Your brothers and sister are come from the Gold Way, and they await out in the public gers or the reception gers."
Ah, okay. Sorry about that.
That's all good. And yeah, if there was no commands or anything like that, they would just leave immediately after telling you that, back out into the evening.
Yeah, no. Sounds ideal.
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll have a bio break here and then come back for the convening of the siblings. It's not long before Teneka Khan comes to the Gur, and you can all sit on the furs, reunited after weeks or months, whatever the case may be between you, though it's been 3 months since the battle of the Firepeaks against the Zamogedi. And here you are, successful in your endeavors before your Khan for the first time in some time.
Well, the Dalat will come.
That is good news.
I spoke with Ulan about speaking with the other clans, the Uyghur and the Kagan. He said he would talk to them.
More good news.
In the spring to have a festival.
And he thinks they will accept such an invitation?
He wasn't clear. He said he's likely.
I'd rather have something more solid than likely.
So would I. He's slippery and evasive most of the time. But he'll be here before the invitations are sent. We can talk to him again.
I may have to. I'm guessing Altani's with you at the moment.
I think it's probably just
As
us,
you wish.
right? Like just the four of us. Well, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah.
It's up to you, yeah.
I'm just wondering. I'm just trying to get an idea if you've said anything or, you've just shown up with her.
Yeah, I guess he'd like scratch the back of his head. I stole Altani.
I expected more scratches on you if you attempted that.
It was pretty civil, actually. I didn't really know how.
Then you did it wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
You should put her back and try again. Right, Kadan?
Yes, definitely. A wife who doesn't scratch you is not really worth having.
Oh, she tried. I'm just very good at fighting.
Oh, in your head.
He'll like shrug. One day you'll try and fight me, and you'll see. If you ever grow big enough.
I leap at him and try to get him in a headlock.
Imagine they like roll and like knock something important over, and like one of the rope goes loose, and like something that's hanging from the top of the girl like falls down.
Sarnai like lifts her cup so that it doesn't get kicked and holds it slightly to the side. She looks at Teneka. Goes, I also had success, although of a very different kind.
Tanaka's not so lucky that gets spilled. Oh yes, profitable.
11 horses, iron, leather, supplies. Yes.
Well done. Chuluun says he like grabs Kadan in a headlock and like gives him a nuggie for a second before he like breaks free.
Let's have a roll.
And a few strong men who, perhaps with the right persuasion, might be willing to join.
That's good.
Oh, well done.
And you, little brother?
I had the boring task of building a tower, but fortunately I came across three. I managed to bring back three mounts from over inquisitive spies. He says, trying to get just oh no, I only get a 13. So
I don't know what you're trying to do.
Is this to fight me?
This is an athletics roll.
Oh, okay. 15.
Okay. Damn it.
Just barely. Not quite yet, little brother.
You were lucky. I was
Tanaka's
holding back.
Tanaka's going to bark out in his fiercest commanding voice, like a scolding parent. Get on!
Yes, it's not me. He's got me. Look at him.
Get on! Stand up and stand still.
He started it.
I'll finish it.
I'm going to get up and I'm going to start walking around you, Kadan, as if I'm looking you up and down. Something different about you. Oh, I know what it is. And as Teneka stands behind you, he's going to grab you by the shoulders and look at Chuluun. You look like you've done a hard day's work for once in your life.
It's showing. Just there on your upper lip. Just barely.
Kadan, you said spies. From whom?
Who were what marks were on the horses?
Kirish.
Kirish, I say. One taken out, badly wounded or killed, and the other two sent back without sent back on foot to report their loss.
Yeah, they may come looking for their horses.
Let them.
That would be good. We want to kill them anyway.
We want to teach them we want to teach them that it's useless to attack, to raid, one way or another.
Well, they're not going to give up that pass unless we rough them up a little.
No.
And we need it.
And if we have all their horses, it'll be easier to fight them. They'll be tired from walking everywhere.
The Girus are the enemy at the Fan King, yes?
Who isn't the enemy of the Fan King?
Us?
Wrong. We don't have an alliance, therefore we're enemies. Surely they would not just accept us as allies.
We don't have a feud. So we're neither. And if we kill the Kirish and the Fankyang hate them, and he'll like shrug like, are you following me?
Can you not complete a thought?
Can you not follow where I'm going? If we kill the Kirish, then we've done a favour to the Fankyang, and then hopefully we can have some sort of pleasant negotiation, some sort of talk. Because we can't beat them in a fight. There's too many of them, they're too powerful. But the Kirish, we can kill them.
We can't fight the Kirish on our own.
Not with that attitude. We'll get the Dalat then. They owe us. I did sense when I was there some bitterness. They know that they owe us, but they also know that we didn't save them in the way that we could have.
Well, I guess the question then that one would have to ask himself is, what would he have done in our position?
It's easy for a man to say what he would have done when he doesn't have to do it. He can sit there now and say, I would have done the noble thing, I would have done this thing because we are friends. Doesn't make it so.
A sour look is on Cadan's face, but he just looks down at the hearth.
It's ugly business. War and raiding, it's ugly. But we're winning. We have to keep being ugly if we want to win. If we stop being ugly, we start being noble and nice, then we'll stop winning.
Ugliness and winning is not the same thing. Do not think that you will necessarily win just because you are ugly. Otherwise, would fall as the great Khan, he says to you, because you show all the characteristics.
To win is the important thing. Whether it's pretty or noble or ugly or whatever, at the end it has to be us that has more horses, us that keep standing, and the others that are beneath us.
And us who kill Cocktail.
Teneka who kills him. Much as I'd like to.
Tanaka, what do we do with the Kirish?
If they're encamped in the city for the winter, then when spring starts to come, they'll start sending people out. And if we're there to kill those people, capture them, whatever, as we go, they'll send 2 to look, and then they'll send 4, and then they'll send 10. If we take them all bit by bit, it's the best thing for it, I think. We'll not win a battle.
Not without too much loss.
Wear them down, slowly and surely.
Perhaps this new tower you've built will help us, eh, Kadan?
I am not sure that the tower is our strength. Movement and freedom to move, speed, those are the strengths of the... As I have said before, I am just repeating what you have heard me say before. These seem more the things of city dwellers and people who use the gold way than our way. But lands.
We have to use whatever tools we can. There aren't many of us. There were even fewer of us not long ago. So we don't have the opportunity to fight like the other tribes. To do whatever we can to get ahead. And if that means sometimes building a tower, or attacking a baggage train, or various other things, then we have to do it if we want to win, stay on top. And when we have many warriors and we have much power, then we can think about acting nobly. But until then, we can't.
I say nothing about noble. I say a tower is a prison. It is something that people know where it is. It's something which lures people, and people can see it from miles off. You cannot move. You cannot wake up in the morning and find a tower is in another place. This is the way that this is the way of the town. We need to be more maneuverable, not locked to the land. If we build towers and use those, we need to move. That's what I've been training the men for.
That hasn't changed. I think we will still be moving, but it's a good place to fall back to if we need it. It's a good place to go. A few men on top of that tower with bows can do a lot of damage, can hold off a large force.
It is one option. But I would not like to be trapped in a tower. I would like to sit on the back of a horse.
Horseshoe will remain. Someone else will be in the tower. But as I say, they will give us the strength of knowing. And there's no approach from the tower without being seen by those in the tower.
Chuluun also mentioned that they had been raided by the jackals and the Khassidi.
It's to be expected. They'll know they're weakened. They'll take advantage of that. That gives us something in the way of something to offer them.
We'll need to be ready. If they raid into the Dalat lands and find the Dalat not there, they might continue to move, and they'll come into our lands.
And we will send them back to their lands with a bloodied nose and a warning.
We just need to be ready.
We will be. For now, we have relative peace. People are happy, they're content, feeding their bellies, warmth from their yurts. But they know that spring will change all that. Let them enjoy it for the winter.
I don't think we have the luxury. We need to be drilling them all the time. We can't afford to rest. We're weak.
People raid. There are fewer raiders than at first in our land. They have learned to be cautious, and they look around for other lands easier to raid. Maybe if I ask Chuluun and some of his Dalats, we can train them and teach them our ways of protecting our lands from raiders, and we can see if the cats can learn the ways of the wolves.
And then we teach them our secrets. And what if they turn and are no longer our friends?
I am happy to lead Chuluun and some of my men and some of his men over back into Dalat lands to hunt down raiders and take the fight back to them. Ulun, if there's one thing Ulun needs to learn, is that he needs to learn how to fight to protect his lands.
It is a good point. I think the Kira should be our priority. If we can talk to the other tribes around us, between us, the Kagan and the Uyghur, we control a very large area right in the center of the Hordelands, and so if we can work together, all of us, then we could have relative peace in our home. Would allow us to raid further and not be so worried.
And the Dalat will have plenty of time to learn things while they are here for the winter.
With the watchtower complete, Kadan, you can control some of the Dalat territory, but I would not venture to go too far. But perhaps if you do come across raiders, it would be a good idea to return them here. You speak of the Dalat knowing our secrets. I'd like to know the secrets of the Khassidi and jackals.
Have we scouted Cormira?
Have I sent any scouts into Cormira?
Yeah. What did I tell you? I've got the notes here. Your men counted 100 Gurs in the amidst the ruined stone houses of Cormira, which puts the estimate at 100 riders or more. And your men reported that they had seen Kirish men bleeding and even eating horses in the claw of winter, which usually isn't even done till the end of deep winter or more serious times, which is telling. Coupling that with the information that Sano brought from the caravan, that they'd been headed for Cormira, might tell you that they're logistically compromised.
We could maybe kill quite a few of them without having to use a blade. If they're already starving and something happened to their food supply, then a great many of them could die and we wouldn't have to lose a man. If their food is bad, then they'll have to leave looking for more food out in the plains.
And I believe I did divert some of their supplies that they were expecting.
And they're already bleeding and killing their horses. They are desperate.
So if we can go in there and we can poison some of the water or the horses, something, spread some sort of sickness. Something like that. We could kill a great many of them. Then in desperation they'll have to leave, wander outside, and then they are sport for our bows.
Is our aim to destroy them or to incorporate them?
Both. First one and then the other. Destroy them until they can't resist. As we did with the Zamogedi.
Hmm. It would use very little of our own resources to accomplish this.
Very little. I could do it on my own.
If we do this, it also gives us a stronger position when meeting the friends of Chuluun the Smiling.
Is there a way that we can make them think it's a plague from the Skyfather, that they've done something wrong?
Checks from that news from the Khan that the Kirish are served by a powerful shaman, so it's unlikely they'd be duped
Okay,
in
yeah.
that manner.
That's right, yeah.
How about the shaman?
Nonetheless, a sickness that spreads, even if we hack into their food supply a little, they're already eating horses. They're clearly desperate. Would a shaman be protected by that sort of cultural thing, like you can't kill them unless it's open?
No, you can kill them, but people fear to risk it
Yeah.
because they can curse you as they die. So people are like, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
They might curse you.
That seems to be one of their greatest strengths, is they have a renowned shaman, and that creates a lot of fear.
We need a powerful shaman.
Hmm. But if we steal them, they're hardly going to serve us. They'll curse us.
You'd have to show them you have Tangri's favor.
Mm. We could just speak to the shaman. If after the plague has come and they're dying in droves, we could go and then treat with them. Offer them help.
Unless the shaman dies in the plague.
And then our problem is solved.
We still don't have a shaman.
No, we don't have one now either. If they live through the plague, then we can say, well, you're clearly cursed. Look at all the success that we have had. We've destroyed Zamogedi. We have allies now, and we're gathering more. We're holding a festival. There is glory here.
If the shaman dies in the plague, then it's certain that Tengri does not smile upon him,
Yeah.
and therefore he is useless to us. And if he is a healer of any kind, he'll be able to withstand the plague. Even a shaman that tends to his peoples is bound to tend to himself first. You can't heal the sick when you're dying.
Yes. They were bringing supplies with the wagon. That's how we get in.
Sanai sees them.
That's how we can get in.
They had a wagon, but there were no supplies in one of them. Only an old man near death. He stank of a plague of some sort.
kill him?
I would not go near him.
Do we have him still?
No. Did not bring him here.
Was he strong enough to make it on his own to this city? Maybe he has done our work for us.
He had not a shaman, but something else. Something like a shaman, but not a shaman. A man with him. Said he was tending the soul of the plagued one. The Way, he called it, a monk of the Way.
And was he Shu or from the west?
Was he Shu?
No, he wasn't Shu, but
Okay.
he was like an Easterner as far as he was from Samphar or further east. But yeah, he was not of the Shu in the way that the caravan guards were definitely Shu.
Just look at a shrug. No, not Shu, but not ours either. I would not kill even a shaman who is not quite a shaman. Perhaps they have made it to the city, and the plague will spread, if it is that.
That would be convenient that we can't rely on it.
Perhaps we should take a look for ourselves some night.
Yes, the more of us that go, the more chance we have of being discovered. But I think in scouting the place, we could see what the situation is, how desperate they are, and where we need to go to cause problems for them.
And if they've sent out riders to watch the building of a tower, surely they've sent out riders for other purposes. Perhaps we can find a few, and then we can have more knowledge of the inside.
And what do the rest of our people do in the meantime?
Well, we have to... Did Alun say when he was arriving?
He said he'd be leaving not long after me.
Mm-hmm.
With the cats, that will mean 3 or 4 days to even get ready to set off.
I agree. It'll be a slow thing.
You cannot still be sore about that.
So, what is so? I only feel contempt.
It will be a slow thing. They'll have to gather everyone, lift up the whole camp before they go.
Well, that gives us time to do our scouting before they arrive. And we shall be back to greet them.
We should bring with us whatever we need in case an opportunity presents itself to do the deed. My thought was to kill as many of their horses as we can. Smear dirt, or whatever we can, into them so that they become corrupted and rotten. How close together are the Gurs? Would a fire spread? Well, it's winter, isn't it? Because if we could just steal a lot of their horses, that would do the same job of starving them if they're using them for food.
Yeah. To give you a bit of a tactical, like a more tactical overview of the situation as far as all that goes, might become more evident if you guys go and scout there.
Yeah.
So I might just wait to give you more information about that till then. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's perfect. Just kind of thinking out loud about like what we can do.
Well, Khana, I guess as far as Khana scouting went, like that river there that like runs around the foot of the glimmering spires, it can be fjorded into Cormyra. The only caveat to that is in spring it runs so heavy that you can't cross. But like in all the other seasons, you can cross there into Cormyra. But it's like a bottleneck that you go through, which makes the place so defensible. And then not far from that, there's the mountains and the pass, which is girt by another river beyond that, which gives them protection against the Fan Kiang. Yeah. As far as winter goes, that's why they kind of winter here. So going across in like a mass assault, you'd be going through the bottleneck of the river to the approach of Cormyra, which could be problematic.
Yeah, mass assault is definitely not something that Chuluun has in mind. They have more people than us anyway, and so I feel like that's not wise. We want to try and kind of take them out in the quietest way possible, so that by the time we actually fight them, like, there's not much fight, you know?
Yeah, they're defeated before.
Weaken them.
Yeah.
Bleed them like a horse, and then eat them.
Yep, that would be... I guess we can't really make more decisions until we see the place and scout it. So Chuluun will like sort of sit on the stool a little bit and then like reach forward and like grab some food and shove it into his mouth. Is there anything else?
If we weaken them with plague, then whoever the survivors will still have the plague. Will we just have to wipe out the entire clan?
It's not really a
Unless they
plague.
infest us.
It's not like I don't think you'll be able to make a pestilence that could wipe out the whole thing while they've got a shaman.
Yep, it's really like the kind of thing that Chuluun has in mind is to like manufacture a sickness of like food poisoning or something, of like some rotten food or something, or just like corrupt enough of the food that they really start to go hungry, you know? Because I don't think we have the ability to like manufacture a plague anyway. You know, so I think it's like a case of like just trying to mess with their food supply as much as possible. Yeah.
Well, if you constrict the Gold Way on one way in and there are rivals with the Fan Kiang on the other way in, that's kind of like they can't get any import.
Yeah. That's very true. And there's a road that leads into Cormyra, is it? There's a Golden Way, it goes right through it.
Yeah, the Golden Way, yep.
That's worth thinking about.
No, Odysseus, no.
yeah. Starve them out.
Oh dear.
Like, I want to scout the place, definitely, but I think we could definitely put some of our guys on the Golden Way, and then when the Dalat come, put some of their guys there as well, so that anything that passes through, like, if they're headed for Cormyra, then they don't get past us. Until the winter is over or whatever.
Is there much travel in winter anyway?
Very little.
So then the ones that do travel in winter, I guess, are incredibly important to them, you know?
Yeah, like Sanai's one, like intimated that she'd like tracked and like been on that for weeks just to get one. That gives you an idea of the frequency.
So if we had something like a tower, for example, a permanent structure where we could...
You're good at building towers, aren't you?
And you love it so much.
It's Chuluun's idea. Let him build towers.
I'm too good at sneaking to build towers.
You can only dream of being as good at sneaking as me.
You stomp around like an aurochs everywhere that you go, and I can hear you breathing from across the camp every night.
The earth trembles as you move with the amount that you carry in your belly.
Only when I choose it. He'll say, and then he'll like stomp onto the ground.
Well, we have enough time to scout Chimera until Ulan arrives anyway.
Yeah.
We may as well do that. We've got the raiders are still. Khassidi was part of one group. There's probably other groups, I would imagine, that go out as well.
Yes, but not currently, just because of the number of folks you guys have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all in the dock there, but for instance, like, you've only got 16, 17 or so warriors personally, Teneka, at the moment, under you, and then like Sana had all the ones that she took with her, and a couple of those died too, actually, so I should delete them.
Yes.
Which I guess those forces would be married back into your own now as well, but like, it looks like you guys have about, what, 22, 32, 47, maybe close to 50 50 mounted armored warriors that you can be using to coordinate stuff like this. So if you wanted to be that there was another one going on while Sane's here, it could be, I guess, another raiding party on the Goldway.
I mean, I guess it'd be more as one party comes back, the other one goes out, I guess.
Yep. Cycle the two armies.
Yeah, pretty much.
That works, yeah.
So do you want to have, say, one here protecting your holdings and then the other on the Kirish border? Or one half of your army raiding the Goldway while the other army is on the Kirish border or at your place?
Is our, sort of distance-wise, is our camp near the Goldway? Relatively?
Yeah.
Your camp is closer than you are to the Kirish border. Yeah.
Because what we could just do is have, like, if it's like within a couple of hours to the Goldway from our camp, is like in the morning, like some warrior or one or two warriors can go to the Goldway. If they spot anything, ride back to camp, you know, and then follow,
I getcha.
because we'll be faster on horseback, like follow the caravan that goes by.
And then you've still got a warrior base at your camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then let us move the camp to within 2 hours of the Goldway. It is easily done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would just constrict like half of winter trade up the Goldway into Chimera.
Yeah.
For a kind of this size, that, like, even though it's not going to be very much, it will still be significant.
Yeah.
Brutal.
And then we four can go and scout.
Kirish.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it to you guys who you want to leave at the camp for the raiding the Goldway plan, and who you want to take with you north to the Kirish border to where Kadan had done initial scouting and erected that watchtower.
It would be better if one of us stayed here, huh?
Well, the thing is, you have Gerbasu, who's a badass bitch, who can stand in Teneka-wise, and you have Eltani, who's a badass bitch, who can stand in Chuluun-wise as far as, like, delegation of, like, martial and civic authority goes.
Yep.
So you're not, like, not so restricted.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess we'll take, like, I don't know, do we need to take many people with us? Like, if we're just scouting, I don't know how many people we actually want with us if we're going to be kind of doing a stealth mission, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's the least amount possible.
Sorry. I thought you were saying earlier, that, Lloyd, that you wanted to take soldiers as well as scouts in case anything happens up there.
No, I kind of meant like take the like whatever we think we might use to poison them or whatever. Take that with us in case an
I
opportunity
getcha,
presents itself, so that we can do the thing instead of just scouting.
We can take some of my my riders to sort of form a chain between us and the camp, and then if we need backup quickly, we can sort of signal all the way up to the camp and get a message very quick.
So as in like you would go, say, like 3/4 of the way with an escort and then leave the escort encamped and then take a forward scouting party and use flag signal to communicate back.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
That's the plan.
Sounds like one.
Is that council dismissed?
Take if we're going to poison them, let's take the weakest beasts that we've got, the ones that are not going to survive the winter anyway, and use those to poison their supply.
Oh yeah.
Or are we going to capture their? I think it'll be easier to ride in. In fact, if we do a double bluff and look like a weak party for them to raid, steal from, but we're actually traveling with sick beasts or something like that, then we could infect their troops.
Yep. So if we take some of our crappy horses,
we
feign weakness.
Feign weakness. Let them capture the poison chalice and poison themselves.
Yep.
Do you think it's realistic that these guys would like consume poisoned beasts,
Well, they
or like
know,
not be able to, but like to be able to recognize it?
Yeah, I guess they might notice that they're sickly or.
The Tugan horsemen like you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like not risk it. Maybe
it would all depend on the poison, and we don't exactly have a supply.
And the thing is, they're not a static settlement without a river source, so you don't have a well you can poison with dead animals. Like they've got the river, so you can't really poison the river.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think like one of the best things we can do is just take away their food supply. So if we can find a way to mess with their horses and make a bunch of them run away, or steal a bunch of them, or even just like just like mess with their food supply, that sort of way. I think that's something at least. Or if they have like supplies, like a place where they've stored their food, like try and spoil that somehow, you know?
Infiltrate Kuamira.
Yeah, that's sort of my idea anyway, is to like get in there quietly and see what we can, because we can't really make make too much of a plan when we don't know what's there and what it looks like.
Is there any plant that we know of that basically we don't want to, horses will eat, but we don't want it will cause them problems? So if we can get some of that plant and get it into their supply, it will mess up their horses.
I reckon stuff like that would exist, but like it's winter too at the moment, so that makes that element tricky. You guys don't have a shaman or anyone kind of like expert in that kind of field to synthesize something like from that?
It's just if there is a plant, but it is winter, so finding such a thing would be difficult.
A plant, yeah. Even if you did know of it,
it'd be buried under the snow in no time.
The thing is, as far as like that kind of plan goes, to the favor of it, that it's as far as you guys think, like they might be looking down the prospect of starving, so they might be more willing to risk.
In terms of the cash gun, just out of curiosity, in the little Facebook thing, you said they have assassins, or they're known to use assassins.
Oh yeah.
Do they use blades or poison?
Either or both at once.
Who's this?
Cargon or the cash gun.
Yeah.
To the south.
I think if we go into Chimera, we can make more of a decision, and if the opportunity presents itself,
Yep.
we can even try and kill the shaman if we're there, or I can try that. You know, and that would be a huge blow to them. But I think we don't know anymore until we see it.
Yeah, no, for sure. We need to have a look first.
Yeah,
But then we need to, take any opportunity that comes up.
yeah,
Be back for Ulun, and if what we see happens to there seems to be some kind of opportunity for poisoning, head south, try and make friends.
yeah.
You know, yeah.
All right, Chuluun will look at Kadan then to like break up the camp and get us moving so that we're 2 hours from the gold away, and then we'll grab the people we want to take and get going.
Nice. Sorry, Kais.
It doesn't take. I've drilled them, but it doesn't take me anymore. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
knows what they're doing. So
So imagine we like nod to each other around the table, and then like get outside and start barking for everyone to get the camp moving.
It's a way of the wolf's life.
Yep.
Moving house at 7 p.m.
I go to. I just go and see Chin before as we're
Yeah.
breaking up camp.
She'll open up the girt and bow and lay you in. Welcome,
Yeah.
master.
Is she showing any sign of pregnancy?
If that's been your intent these last months, I think it's pretty likely. If it was your command, pretty much certain.
Yes. Then happy that she is also going to deliver, although not she's not a wife. As a slave, she can still become a mother and mother children for the Naican in the future. So this is good, and I'll lead her to one of the better horses that we've just captured, so she can ride in some style, and something that's suited to her ability of riding and also her condition.
She'll marvel at it and thank you and ride it, taking to it with more acumen than last time, as you've been giving her some tutelage, the thing. And she takes to riding well now, very skilled in many ways, Chi-Chin.
And
Yeah, she'll thank you when she dismounts, coming back to you after a few loops of it, obviously approving.
And how is the child in your belly? He says, looking very, very proud of himself. How are you?
Kicks, she says, and clumsy. Definitely its father's child, she smiles.
Clumsy? He frowns. That must come from your side of the family.
She nods, as you say.
Anyway, it's he's also a very proud father, and he's beaming around, waiting expectantly for his first. He's quite pleased with how things are progressing, but I won't go into any more detail for that at the moment.
Yeah, and she'll work with you and the others of your household, Chibo and the rest, to disassemble all the gers and get everything moving before dawn towards the Goldway. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to do before we move along to the next scene? Then we shall go. So a day later, after the camp's been moved within a couple of hours' ride of the Goldway, yourselves and your small mounted escort are trotting along the Goldway path that leads towards the Kirish border and the watchtower, when the first sign of trouble, I guess, in some days, descends on you. There's a rider coming at you pell-mell from the distance. By your number, you're unsettled, though curious, no doubt. When he grows closer, some of the men begin to murmur recognitions, words of recognition of the man. As it thunders close, waving with his hand, whip in one hand, the other, the reins are slack, and his looks damp with sweat and heavy with fear as he thunders up close towards you guys. Gergasu, one of the Zamogedi urban leaders, leads in close to you and says, "It is Nongrot, my Khan, one of our scouts." And when you hear that, Karan, you know the man. You left him in command of the 7 at the watchtower.
How far away is he? Is he within range to communicate anything with flags? Or is he one of my riders or one of the
One of yours,
just a construct?
waving his hands in alarm, calling out.
Mm-hmm. Then, so yeah, I'm just reading his signs, seeing what he's saying before he arrives. He'll be able to give quite a bit of information as he's riding up.
Yeah, it's certainly bad news by his pace and pell-mell. He would continuing to do this could possibly break his horse, which a Chugan is wont to do. So the news must be dire, and he'll ride up within hearing of you. And
survivors. I mean, I think over distance I'd be able to communicate my questions.
He's shaking his head. You can see that he bears a wound and that his blade is missing. He'll ride up inside of all of you, throw himself down out of the saddle, rush over and drop on all fours before you, Teneka, and then stand up, giving a salute. "My Khan."
Speak. What news?
"The watchtower, the eastern watchtower by the Cormir River. It burns. They attacked us. They waited at dawn and flushed us out. We fought as you ordered, Kadan, but when all was lost, I knew I must bring word. They were torturing the men as I fled, Khan." And then he'll drop to his knees at that, exposing his throat. You can see he's ashen and bloody and sweat. The horse behind him, the rein slack now, is giving that noise that horses do when they're close to being broken.
Torturing the men? No,
How
flash
many
at the
did you
Chuluun. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. How many of them did you kill?
2, he says shamefully, and others we shot down from the tower. But at night they must have hid men behind us, and while we fired at those who came from a distance, an urban led by a man, and he gives a description of the guy that you'd mocked and stolen from, came at us and clambered up and butchered. I jumped down and lost my sword in the fall, grabbed Yargai's horse and headed west, master.
Chuluun will look at Kadan for a second. Like this talk of insults. You sort of wonder what had happened. They'll be dead by now then.
"I've been riding hours, my lord," he says.
We should go.
With that, you gallop east along the Goldway. Are your small train ready now for violence should it come? You can see the column of smoke well before you reach the watchtower, and the bottom half of it hasn't collapsed yet and still is a flame or smouldering, whereas the top half has fallen in along with the 2 corpses that were up in the nest. The corpses of other men around and signs of some who have died and been dragged away, no doubt the victors slain. Who are absent now. One of your men staked down by a spear into the ground through his arm, cries out in pain and begging for water as he sees you riders approach, not knowing at first that you are his allies. And you remember the seventh and only remaining man from the watchtower that you'd bid here cut on, and this is Kara. And yeah, through like broken teeth and bloody lips, he'll croak, "Oh, my lord!" And you can hear the of the wagon wood tower.
I would have been, just going back one step, I would have been absolutely against having my men guard the watchtower. My men are trained in movement and stealth, not in guarding
Okay.
watchtowers. It would have been other.
Sure.
I would have. Well, I mean, I could have been overruled, but I would have protested very strongly against having my men there.
It would be as you say, given that you were delegated to do it by Teneka, so that's fine. Your mobile scout riders are back at your camp, and these men were like sent specifically to act as spies or guards.
Mhm.
But yeah, being in your Khanate, you know this man, and
Yeah.
you can see the chaos that's been sown here. There's hoof prints that have gouged up the snow, and much of the blood's gone brown or has been covered up by other sleet that's fallen.
Well, that's sorry.
Chuluun will just like look at the wreckage and like the insult that's been given here and sort of snort and then say quietly to himself that they'll have to pay for this.
Well, this poor broken and bloodied man, as he cries out for water, I'll fetch some, assuming I have a supply on me. I pull the spear out and see to his arm.
Yeah, it's mangled beyond saving. He'll likely die even if the arm is amputated. He's been here for some hours, like losing blood and weakening.
Chuluun is like like opening and closing his fists. He's like angry at this situation and that we've lost so many men.
Mm-hmm.
And is like looking now into the distance where these people must have come from, and
Yeah, you see the glimmering mountains, and you see Kurmira bound by the river.
The tower was a death trap from the first. Well, wait until the guy dies, but then it was an insult to them building something like that in front of them. The people were doomed.
well, they've killed many of ours, and so we'll have to kill many of theirs.
I'm happy to take my part in that.
Chuluun will take a little bit of soot from like the burnt wood and wipe it onto his face, and then like look in the direction of Cormira, and sort of like crack his neck, and he's like determined now to like cause some suffering there, more than just like sort of pragmatic mission. Now it's a matter of like anger.
I think that's one of those psychic twin moments as you do that, where we look at each other and give the patented head nod.
Yeah.
and swing ourselves back up onto the horses.
And right away from the silent pronouncement of doom you've placed upon the Kirish and Kuamira.
Yeah, towards the place, I guess.
Yeah, towards it. Right away. No.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought that was like, right, let's go back and get our army. I misunderstood. Sorry. So you're going to go to Pale at Kuamira.
Not to parley, no. I
Sneak
think
in.
the original plan is still in action.
Yep. So we're gonna, I'd say, wait for night and then try and sneak in, like stealth in, and commit whatever murder and misery we can.
Mm-hmm.
And who's going other than you four?
I don't know that I want to trust anyone to succeed
Yeah.
on the stealth rolls.
I think it should just be us four.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's the wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to ride up to the river by night, tether your horses on that side, then fjord across the ice and waters in the evening and try and infiltrate by deception or stealth.
I by stealth, definitely.
I'll go stealth as well.
I'm stealthy-ish.
Oh,
Oh god, stealthy-ish is absolutely not good enough. There's like 100 of them.
Okay, so maybe I don't stealth in. Which leaves me...
how good is your charisma, barbarian?
Well,
More
it's
importantly,
not as bad as my intelligence.
how good is your shit talk? Like, your actual shit talk? That's the real question.
That's been a while since I've been playing in the Viking game. That really upped my shit talk level. I'm out of practice.
Getting across that river. How are we going to do that?
So I'm thinking good old-fashioned Dorsonian skill challenge for this.
Yes!
Yeah.
It seems like there's lots of little finicky bits and pieces you've got to do to kind of get at what you want.
Yeah. So we gotta get across the river and then, like, into the camp.
And then do the things.
And then do
It's
the things,
winter, and I don't know if this is like Mongolia, but Mongolia gets down to -40 in winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cold. Oh my god.
Yeah, we saw that thing today about the Zud.
Yeah.
All the sheep died.
Oh my gosh. Because
Yeah.
they starve and freeze. Oh, it's horrific.
I guess the river would be frozen over even at the start of winter.
Yeah, probably, with how cold it is.
Temperatures like that. So I guess actually fjording the river is as simple as riding or walking across a frozen river.
Yeah, then it's a case of, like, getting through their camp and not being noticed. Or even being noticed, but not being noticed as a stranger. Because there's a lot of them there. There's like 100 warriors, it probably means like several hundred people. It's potentially possible that you could, like, fit in and they wouldn't notice that you're a stranger.
Yep, none of the people from that caravan were Kirish, were they?
No, there were mainly Shao caravan guards, a Rashomon guide caravan master, and the Samphari and the Damarin mercenaries that you spared. But there was no... oh yeah, and there was a Toygan criminal who was chained, but you ordered him executed as well, so there was no surviving Toygan people in that caravan, let alone Kirish.
While we are, while we're sort of waiting while we're waiting for night to fall and sort of planning our way in, Kadan will be converting one of the muzzles of a horse to sort of come, basically just improvising a muzzle for a horse, and to completely cover its mouth and make it so it can't open its mouth at all. And he's making a thread and using his woodcarver's tools to make a sharp needle.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my intent is to get over there and then, like, see if I can find where the shaman is. I'm not sure that I'm going to tell everybody. My intent definitely is to try and, like, quietly kill the shaman while we're there.
So will you guys kind of cross over the river, try and sneak into this place and split up?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's the most risky approach, but I feel like we can do the most work that way. Okay.
What could go wrong?
What we may need is an escape plan.
Yeah. Yep. Well, maybe if, like, someone gets caught, whoever is not caught causes a distraction somewhere else, like lights a fire or, like, starts slapping horses on the arse or whatever, so that there's a distraction enough. Something like that. We also could consider, depending on how thickly the ice is frozen, when we get to the other side, using, like, our weapons to, like, crack the ice so that they can't immediately ford after us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or even, like, semi-cracking it when we go across in the first place, so that when we run back across, it'll be easier to do. And ideally they'd be running after us and then fall into the water, you know?
Oh, excuse me. If this is rocky land, because I imagine if Kadan can find boulders that he can disguise as men, there must be other boulders around. If we can at least pile up some, it's just a matter of throwing them with great force onto the ice.
Yeah, yep.
It depends how thick the ice is,
Yeah.
Sure, but
Yeah, I think if it's strong enough to ride across, it's very, very difficult to break.
yeah,
if you could
you
maybe
need to
put
heat up the metal and
say, of dent in it, it's like a rutted ground for a horse to try and get across. They're going to have to slow their pace.
Mm.
And if someone does fall off the horse, that's freezing cold water.
Yeah. Yep. I guess we can try and do a little bit of messing with it as we go across. Even on, like, their side, like the far side, so that we can, if we know that it's a little bit cracked on that side, we can, like, jump, you know, or over it or something like that when we're running away. If we're running away.
I'm sure we will be.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys ride across the river, damaging it and here and there as you... Oh, sorry.
I always forget this, and I should have brought it up sooner, and I apologise. I'm a ranger.
Yeah.
I've got pass without trace.
Yeah, could you maybe use that once in a while?
What? I'm over here.
Fucking hell.
Oh,
Fuck me dead.
my Chex.
It's been a while, okay?
Check's middle name Chekhov. I'm over here with my +2 to stealth.
Okay, well, let's
So
do
what
that.
is pass without trust? Trace to give you a +1,000,000 stealth?
+10.
Fuck.
Yeah,
I know.
to all of us. So I guess maybe it's a case of, like, covering ourselves in soot or
And
that kind of thing.
I'd also like to point out this bit, in case the shaman has some ideas. Can't be tracked. Oh no, you can be tracked by magical means. Bugger.
Okay, sounds good.
Right.
So you guys stood up and, like, under cover of darkness, leaving only footprints in the snow, you make your way into Kumira at the Kurdish camp, splitting up and agreeing to meet at a preordained hour, maybe the hour of the wolf, while you go off each to learn what you can, or at least under that guise of learning what you can, in some cases, to maybe do murder of religious people. So I'm not even going to make you guys roll stealth to get into the place with that speciatale. And indeed, it is big enough that it's not so small that you'd be like recognized as out of place, because this is a stop-in point on the Goldway. And you can see that the gers that have snow cling to the top of them, that are under the leaves of rubble and walls of once sort of mighty Chimera. They have people inside them. There's light coming from within some. And there are merchants here who are not Toygan, who have set up shop for the winter along their passage here on the Goldway, and that their stalls cooking food, or like hovels, or like where drink and goods can be found even at this the second hour of evening, I guess, or third hour of evening that you guys have snuck in. And people feast, not feast, sorry, but like drink and eat and interact and try and find some community as they can here. But the general mood is not one of anything approaching your own back in the Naican camp. Several of the children here look gaunt and sickly, and many of the warriors are dealing with wounds that they got through the autumn in their time east against the Fen Kiang. And you see a family eagerly looking as a man like saws up bits of horse to be hauled away by other folk. There are several winter pens that stand empty. The Quirish have been brought so low. Is there anything that you guys wanted to discuss or have transpire between you before you split up to your own endeavours?
I would have suggested one way of weakening the ice is we'd heat some weapons or metals and just sort of use heated metal to sort of just burn sort of cracks in the ice after we've kind of gone past. I don't know whether that would that's my one suggestion for weakening the ice when we cross. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand what you're getting at.
Maybe
I just wonder like how much the heated blade of 4 people in the night can really do.
Yeah.
And like how are you going to heat the blade? You're going to have to make a fire which could be seen from
okay, it's not going to work
from a ways. And yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, like, I know you could do it with a group of people, concerted effort, but with 4 people trying to be stealthy, I don't.
If there is a place, oh, hang on, I'll just look through my stuff. No, I don't have a cooking pot. Okay, no, forget that.
So Chuluun will be looking for like what he imagines would be one of the nicest gers, or one of the biggest ones. He reckons the shaman lives in, that kind of thing. But also, like, as he's going through the town, like specifically looking for like the horse pens, any sort of like stores they have for food or weapons, that kind of stuff. Like anywhere that they would be keeping a lot of stuff that we can mess with.
Yeah, if you buy food from merchants or like walk about the place, you're kind of like pretty much under their nose, and able to observe. You can see where like lesser people. It's similar, like, I guess, in a sense to the layout, so to speak, of your own camp, because there is a way that they're kind of set up from the cairn at the center and all of that, like all the way out, that people have specified zones or spaces. So you can see it's all kind of semi in accordance with that. And there's like the lesser people's horses stabled in, and those are the ones that are being like butchered or bled. And you would imagine closer into the center of the camp, where there'd be more like scrutiny and military presence, there'd be the Khan's stables and his beasts and stuff. But you can see where the different like small folk have their like camps and gers, and where like the favored warriors camp ring around the Khan central ger is, off where you may wish to risk. The shaman has 2 tents, one nearby to the Khan for direct consultation, and one far off from the camp for his own private matters. And although, you haven't discovered the one outside of the camp as yet, you can guess pretty accurately as to where the main shaman tent is at the center of the camp, which is kind of like cornered at each point of it by these stone ruins of what was once a former great city. Now it's kind of like a skeleton that these people winter in. You estimate, Khadān's scouts are pretty close, like 100 girls or so you'd count or estimate the same. Puts it about 100 warriors and, several hundred other folk here wintering in, though you wonder if some of those will be forced to be expelled if conditions like this continue, or if they're made worse by you and further starvation or privation falls upon these people. If you wish to get close to any of the places I've mentioned, like close to the Khan's, like center of the camp, you think it likely that you'll be challenged or questioned, given that it's night. And and of course, their winter foods would be guarded in like the certain tents, given that they're starving or looking down the face of starvation.
Yeah, I guess that would be my main goal, would be to find their stores of food. Like, that's the best way that we can defeat them, I think. So that would be my main goal, and then like secondary would be to find the shaman if that's possible. But the main thing would be either horses or food stores.
Yeah, well, eventually after a couple of hours of watching it as just like pretending to be like a customer of one of the food vendors or something here, you'd be able to see where like servants or cooks or attendants go to take food from certain gers to disperse about or put onto cook fires or like ration out to people, and can plus that with the armed presence of 4 guards lounging around the opening of this ger, that there must be surely not all of the central food stocks, like you'd never put all of your food in one spot, but there must be some cache in this large ger of food stores and like non-perishables and such. So you can get like an eye of it, but like how you want to approach it, I'll have to be up to you.
So the gers are made of, like it's potentially possible to cut your way into one.
Yeah, certainly. They're hide, so sharp sword, you'd be able to cut through in not too much time.
Okay. I guess I'll take note of where it is. I imagine we've all split off from each other at this stage.
Yep.
I don't think I can kill 4 guards before they make noise.
The mighty Chuluun
Yeah,
doubts himself.
Chuluun is good.
I could kill 4 guards, but they would make noise, Okay.
And presumably, if there's shortages of food, that their own townsfolk will be trying to steal it, so that it'll be well guarded.
Mm-hmm. When the merchant goes, does he go into the tent with the food, or do they hand it to him?
Yeah, no, he goes in, and it seems as if the guards know who are the people allowed to go in and out and whatnot.
Yeah.
And who are peasants that they or threaten away.
Yeah. Okay, well, Chuluun is big, so he'll hang around at the merchant stall for a while, and then when he's going to get more, he'll offer to help him carry, because he's been doing it all day, and his food is so delicious. If he needs me to carry it back to the stall, I'll do that for him.
I see your ploy, hungry one. No, Khan's orders, only those given consent are allowed in the food gers, now in the claw of winter.
There's no ploy. I'm full. I've eaten enough of your food already. Just trying to be helpful.
My thanks, but it cannot be done. Enjoy will point to the last remnants in your bowl, and he'll go off with his servant towards the food ger.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Sane, in a poorer part of the ger rings, you stop in your tracks, surrounded by so many Kirish who have no idea that they're in the presence of a Khana or Khan's sister. But you stop in your tracks looking as there's this monk who's been stripped of his shirt, and several of these Queerish soldiers, one of them drunk, prodding at coals where a brand is sitting, tempering up, and it looks as if they're about to mark him as one of their slaves. And they mock and jape him. He doesn't seem to really hear them. His eyes go closed, and he just like begins speaking in a foreign tongue to himself. And they laugh and coot all the more. One of them spills his drink as he falls off his chair, telling the others that he's gone mad. And one of them will like spit some of the arag between a tooth hole down onto where the brand is, and when it sizzles, he gives like a gross smile to the others, and they'll move to hold the monk, and he'll walk towards him with the brand, pink and hot.
Sarnai turns away from the sight, not wanting to hear the sizzle or the man's screams, because they all scream.
Yeah, you hear a slight struggle, and then a man screaming in hideous, pig squealing pain, and the rank stink of human flesh sizzling. And you hear people crying out in or shock, and then like a cry of alarm as another man's voice scream adds in, and then a third, certainly different scream, and like, the curiosity is.
Oh, I turn around. Yep. Turn around.
The monk twists and turns and this and that, and the first man, it seems, was branded by accident, and then the second, and then by some artifice of his martial art, he spun the would-be brander to loose the thing from his own hand and drop, burning him on the way down before stepping back from it. Though even though the men like writhe about, quite vulnerable in their positions, and he could perhaps finish them off or strike them down or flee, he gets down and muddies himself further by praying for the men that he's just hurt, acting like one in contrition. And many of the Tarn around here are incredulous at this.
Sarnai is standing with the crowd, drawing no attention to herself. And she's waiting for this man to cease his prayers and to hopefully begin leaving these captors, these torturers behind.
He opens his eyes after finishing a prayer, while one man's like mustering up the stance to try and smite him again, and his eyes catch yours down the muddy thoroughfare for a brief interlocking moment before he has to like somersault back out of the double whoosh whoosh of the sword strike of this guy who's spitting blood and curses and cries of pain at the burning slave mark, now burnt into his deal collar and onto his own neck. Two more warriors come rushing around, and one's like hefting a spear and trying to get in to stab at the monk, while another wets his thumb and then thumbs an arrow to notch into his bow and gives holding it up, lining up the man as he dances around here and there, dodging out of the way of this man and ducking back so that another overbalances, using his strength and leverage all the time to disarm attacks and veer would-be assaulters, but never like taking the advantage to finish them off after he does. And this Toygan man waits for the perfect moment to exhale and let fly his arrow at the monk.
So there's a lot of people, I presume, watching at this point?
More than there were before. There was certainly like curious children and a couple of just creeps nearby watching in like something like curiosity at this man about to be branded, but hearing the cries of commotion and pain and that, there are people who are ducking their heads out of nearby gers, and yeah, as I said, these two other warriors who have come into the vicinity to try and subdue the monk, the prisoner. Probably like a couple of dozen people, if not more.
Okay. Are there any like camp cooking fires that are at this point, due to the commotion, somewhat unattended?
Yes, unattended, as in like they're not being like currently used like they were before, but certainly within like several feet of some people.
Okay.
But yeah, it's that hour of the evening that you guys went in, so there certainly would be some around.
Okay. I'm trying to decide if there's a way to accidentally start a fire and cause commotion and cause a crowd to move and then
Yeah.
she might interfere with that archer while people are occupied with the fire.
So you could, for instance, like pick up a plate or bowl and scoop up a whole heap of coals and just throw it into a girt,
Oh, God.
or like tip over like an oil, like a fat lamp or an oil lamp in someone's girt. Yeah, if like to start a fire, I think wouldn't be difficult because it's like dinner time and you need fire for dinner time. So there's fire and things that burn around. So you like slip into a tent and like start a fire, and then out in time to try and what are you going to distract? How are you going to distract the archer?
Oh, when everyone's looking at the fire, I'm gonna break his bow.
Maybe you scream out the fire.
Yeah.
Well, people will turn around and see smoke coming out of the girt, and like half the crowd immediately will respond to that, whether directly or indirectly, like by taking children away or like calling out for water and stuff like that. And the commotion rises, and the archer who was just about to let fly his shot kind of lessens the bow again and kind of looks over in that direction and goes, like he's obviously torn in a moment as to whether he should try and combat the rising fire or go back to and shoot this monk who's having the best of it against three of his fellow guards.
Yeah, and that's when Sarnai steps in with one of the particular unarmed moves that Chuluun showed her, with her hand on the bow and trying to basically torque it out of the archer's hands while he's looking and distracted.
Okay, opposed athletics, you can have advantage because he's distracted. DC 7.
If I can't beat that, I think my athletics is a +7. Okay, 20 total.
Yeah, you may as well retire. Yeah, you rip the bow from his hand and the arrow like clatters to the ground. The monk ducks out of the way as one guy tries to punch him and he just breaks the nose of the other guy that was behind him.
Yeah, she'll like basically snap that string, rendering the bow unusable until he could find a spare, and toss it to the side and let out a low whistle, looking towards the monk.
Seeing what's on offer, he'll like twist out of like the seeking grasp of one of the men with the bloody nose, and he'll roll to the side as someone runs past him now and throws water on the raging gur, and he'll rush up towards you as someone like he narrowly misses getting slashed down the back by a blade of one of these men. And he'll like look off through like where like two gurs almost touch, where you might like rush through against the tide of people running towards the fire.
Yep, absolutely. We're about to disappear into the crowd in the dark.
The broke-nosed warrior and the branded tormentor will sprint off after you as everyone else either soon forgets about you to go to their duty or rushes towards the fire.
My base movement speed is 50.
Then you and the monk sprint out of camp towards the river. Meanwhile, Kadan, what are you doing in the camp before all this commotion hits off?
Kadan's been travelling around looking for a major area of horses or goats or any other major food source.
Yeah, so if they're eating the horses, chances are there's not going to be too many goats around here now.
Yeah.
And getting nearby the Khan's horses, or the Khan stables where most of the horses will probably be, is going to be very tricky, but possible. But you can get near the lesser folks' stables, those ones that I'd mentioned to Chuluun, without too much issue. I think you'd be able to get near there where there's a concentration of horses there.
I'm quite skilled. I'm a climber, and I'm quite skilled at climbing. I've got as a thief skill, I've got second story work. I'm quite skilled at climbing on the
Nice.
up the ribs of the gurs and sort of balancing along the top and sort of planning where possible to run and jump onto another gur, waiting for a moment where the noise of my landing will be hidden under some other sort of noise, So I'm going to try and get onto the roof of one of these, using these tactics, try to get onto the roof of a stable or a place or a way that I can get over the top and down into where they're keeping the horses.
Yeah, you can do so. Given that the commotion hasn't kicked off, I will require a stealth check though, so that someone doesn't notice you doing this, because it'd be certainly unusual at this time of night.
Okay, yeah. See if I get the timing right. 24.
Yeah, you think you've been caught as like a guard comes close and walks like so near, but he doesn't even notice you as he walks past and calls out, eventually finds the direction of the person he's looking for and wanders off that way. And you can and then begin to jimmy your way up on top of the stables. So stables are basically where like a corner piece of stone rubble meets. They've thrown stuff over that triangular roof part and then covered it in so that there's like shelter from above and from 3/4 sides from the elements for the horses. So calling it a stable is kind. Yep. But yeah, it will hold your weight more readily than a gur would, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You can get up on top of it, and the horses do that all underneath, like sensing you kind of thing. But yeah,
I'll drop down amongst them, and soon get them used to me. They'll, I know horses. They'll know they'll know the
sniff you.
Yeah, and then I'm moving around, looking for looking for a smaller one, maybe a mare. Looking around for a smaller mare.
Yeah, you'd be able to find one.
And then, this is pretty vicious, but I'm going to, but basically, first of all, I'll go around all the mares and smear any shit and things like that into their teats and try and create poison. Just try and infect
brutal.
them. Basically,
what a brutal task.
Yeah,
you don't even need to roll dice. I grew up on a horse farm, so I know what you're doing. Fuck yeah, you can definitely do that. I agree with the slow clap. That's brutal.
And once I'm pretty sure, then I'll take my pin and just also sort of heat it and sort of just go to one of the other horses and just sort of just stab it in the anus, so blood and shit mix, and sort of see how many I can do like that before they start getting too wild, and then I'll try and beat to retreat.
I need an animal handling check. Man, some of the things you got to contemplate in GMing is weird. I'm going to do a DC 24 animal handling check to contaminate the lower people's mare herd, like mare component of their herd. And anything below that will be different degrees of success, like proportions of the herd.
I get 20.
Yeah, more than 3/4 of the herd you get to kind of contaminate or infect before like just that weird like herd animal panic sets in. Yep. And there's ripples now of dangerous horse flesh and seeking hooves that like you think it's more likely you'll get your head stove in than you'll be able to contaminate the rest.
Attract attention and all sorts. I better get out of here.
Yeah, trying to sneak away by darkness, that's probably when the flames go up and people start crying out and screaming and running around, and you know that you probably think that one of your siblings have done something. Meanwhile, Teneka, where are you and what are you doing?
The food stalls where the food was being handed out, I'd get in line there to get a bowl of this stew or broth or whatever it is that's been ladled up.
It's got like raisins, dates, or something like that, and some hard grain that's been softened by broiling away. It's rashmani, you'd guess, because it tastes like piss compared to the fine mare's milk and like gross rotten meat that your people like to eat. But this Rashamani is like asking an extortionate price for it, and in a racist manner, he begins to charge you as a beggar and send you off, not allowing you food before you show him some of the Shao coin you've brought. And he'll act like your best friend as he doles you an extra portion into a hollowed out bowl and hand it over. Ah, my friend, take, enjoy.
Thank you. I'll look around. I am assuming there's others eating kind of nearby. They've just grabbed a bowl, went and sat down.
Yeah, men who have the look of soldiers or foreigners mainly. Most of the Kirish, like small folk, don't have enough money or means to be like here eating at the food stalls like you are.
Okay, I'm going to move away from the food stalls towards the people who can't afford this fine banquet.
Yeah,
And
you can go down to the lower places.
if there's anybody sitting kind of destitute, listless, I will go up and I'll make as if I'm walking by them and stop, and then move back, sit down beside them, and hand the bowl over. But before I do that, can I cast a little spell on this thing?
Surely. You know you can do anything.
That's great being can. Detect poison and disease. So
Nice.
sense presence and identify poisonous creatures or disease within 30 feet.
Yeah, there'd be two candidates. One, an old woman in a gur, obscured from view, but you can almost like smell her sickness after you attune. And a child who's watching on from its mother's arms while her other two older children fight over a cheekbone that they're like gnawing and sucking at.
You're not going to tell me the results of that detect poison and disease before I make this choice, are you?
Didn't you hear me? Was I muted then?
Oh, did I miss it?
Did you guys hear me?
Oh, I didn't hear it, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So from where you currently stand, there's like an infant child in its mother's arms who's disease ridden, and they're watching on as two of its siblings fight over a cheekbone. And in a gird nearby to you, there's an old woman languishing from some disease.
Okay. That has to be the children. That's a good way to ingratiate yourself, I guess. I'll move towards them with this meager bowl of offering.
The mother and three children.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll like greet you and like put down the child and stand up and bow, taking you for a warrior or for someone. Maybe it's something in your bearing.
The little ones are looking thin.
They have gone hungry. Many nights since Holyuli did not return, as many others, and she looks east for a moment, then back to you, and then down to her ragged boots.
Perhaps I'll hold the bowl up. They could use this more than I could.
She'll struggle to hold back the tears and adopt the Kirish cold face. Yeah, yes, my lord, thank you, they would. And the children now have stopped their arguing and squabbling over the cheekbone and are looking up with you, at you with rheumy eyes. The sickly child wheezes and commences to squalling.
This surely cannot go on much longer.
She shakes her head woefully as if she's contemplated the same thing. It is all right for the other mothers and children of the warriors who returned from the Fan Kiang raids, but for we, it is as if we are cursed by Tangri. I do not know how I will feed children come deep winter.
May that not be heard from other ears, or two other ears, but how the Khan could permit this to happen.
He is learning now that swords and armor and shao coins cannot be eaten when the snows close the roads. His victory will be his defeat if the gods are not unkind. Pretty bitter and open way for a woman to speak about her Khan like this to a stranger. Gives you a good insight into how desperate this situation could become quite quickly here.
I've heard there's tales of people leaving, seeking out places elsewhere.
When the Zamogedi fell, some went north to seek out the Gur and live in peace by the coasts of Yaltengri. Others, fearing that the wrath of the wolves would come upon us, have fled to the Fenkiang, who are strong now in the east. Most, though, will stay. Our Khan is confident that we will rebuff the wolves, that the river will be our friend, that we will send them back. No doubt he will spend many other fathers in the doing of this. And she'll chide one of her children for drinking the bowl too quickly and burning his lips.
Will he be as confident come the spring when the snow melts, though?
Who can know? It's for men to know such things. She waves a dismissive hand at you.
I am unsure there's any truth to that, for I am not in the knowing.
Indeed, she says, but you've enough coin for a bowl of food.
The last of it.
You may sleep in there, she says. My husband has an old cloak. You may wear that to keep warm and sleep tonight.
I thank you.
She just casually offers you her house, her Gur, shitty as it is, but without hesitation.
I thank you for the offer of hospitality, but I have much on my mind, and when I do, my legs seem to want to wander. I think I will do so.
Well, will you wonder without giving me your name, sir?
Ganbata.
Gambata. I am Maral, she says. A word of advice, Gambatai.
I'll always gladly while I listen to advice.
If you have children, don't go off and die in some Khan's war. And then she'll go back to her children and force them to share the bowl equally and nurse the sickly one.
Oh, I think there's a moment of where he sits and watches this scene for a tad longer as he ponders that last remark.
Yeah, Chuluun, while you're... Oh, sorry, you go.
No, that's me.
Chuluun, as you're prowling around the shaman's tent, trying to look for some, something like movement or some proof of his whereabouts, and while trying to not earn the ire of the guards, you probably do the slow eye close when you hear screams starting to peel out somewhere else in the camp, and when you gain purchase like many others have, or climb up on the back of some horse, you can see a fire. And what do you do?
So am I still at the where the guards were outside of the food tent?
Yeah, you're in that vicinity, which is close to where the Khan and the shaman's hut are.
So in the hubbub, do they look in that direction? Do they start to move, or do they stay where they are?
Not right now as you notice it, but if you're willing to spend time here, they certainly do. After less than a minute, warriors will come running out of these Gurs, men finely dressed with other warriors about, and women in fine garb, given the destitute situation for some of the people here. Tells you they're probably the royals or the nobles, come out and are calling orders, and soon there's bucket trains of water, and men are rushing to get servants to pick up horse troughs with them and shamble down towards where the fire is to heave that on and stop it from spreading.
So with the chaos, then I'm gonna try and cut my way into the back of the gur where the food was, where the merchant was going.
Nice. You can make a stealth check with advantage, but I am just going to roll for 3 nearby guards just in case.
But if I have passed without trace still, how long does that last, checks? We've been here for hours. Have we?
An hour?
You need to be within 30 feet of me.
Oh, okay. No worries.
So it was just to get in.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. It's all, you're in luck. The highest is a 9 out of my 3 rolls.
Yeah, I got a 22.
Yeah. So one guy like stops you in your tracks and like hands you this bucket. He's like, yeah, blah, 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 and then rushes off to his thing, and you can just flick it away and whoosh, step inside of the darkness. And it smells like barley and grains and like foodstuffs and salt, and those are the smells that are salty here in the dark.
Yeah. Are they in barrels?
I don't know barrels because wood's so like good here. It'll be more like skins and bladders.
I'm gonna just
like
turn it all onto the ground into a big pile, like spread it around on the ground as much as I can, everything. And when I've spread it all onto the ground, I'm going to piss on it, and then I'm going to put my fingers down my throat and throw up on it. And just like kick a load of dirt onto it and figure like they're not going to pick that up now. Like in the chaos as much as possible, so just fuck that entire tent worth of food if I can.
Yeah, slash these sacks and bladders open and grains and everything is like spilling out, mixing them and then contaminating them with your own waste.
Yep.
With shit.
Yep. So with that done, feeling a bit woozy probably from throwing up, I'll like run outside, and then I'm going to try and get to the shaman's tent that was on the in the vicinity if I can, and like in the chaos I guess, like shouting at people like fire, fire, and like pushing them in that direction, you know.
I think realistically there's going to be a lot of really emaciated and desperate people who are going to have a similar idea, and you probably see them, children of men, camera style, rushing into the fucking slit open food tent to eat your vomit pissed food because they're that desperate, while you rush off towards another tent.
God. Yep.
Okay, this comes down to it. Roll a d20, Lloyd. Odds, the shaman is at this tent. Evens, he's at the other tent.
Oh my god. The pressure. 7. Motherfucker. Damn it. Okay.
Yeah, so you flip open the gur curtain, and it's like a fucking, I don't know, a high school shooter's ossuary down in here. There's like bones hanging around and macabre paraphernalia and a creepy vibe, and even a bold, fearless warrior, you still feel weird about stepping over that bony threshold into this dark, like unknowable place.
Is there like a shrine?
But he's not present.
The Sky Father or something?
I don't think there'd be a shrine to him.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, is there a way that I can... Because... I'm trying to make it seem like this guy's out of favour. I guess Chuluun would be too superstitious to, like, mess with this stuff. Like, it's bones.
Yeah, you can break his neck so easy. All the esoteric politicking or scheming there might be.
Yeah.
So much.
Okay, well, I guess, like, just... seeing in here, like, I'll see if there's anything that grabs my eye that's shiny. And if not, then I'll just leave and try and make my way to the other tent that he's probably in. Which means probably going through the crowd and like towards the center, I guess, where the fancy tents are.
Yeah, as far as like what I'm imagining would be there, as far as shine, I don't know if there would be like corporeal wealth here.
Yeah.
There'd be like weird shit, like blood eggs and bowls with strange designs on them, and like bronze knives and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't steal
rushing
anything
into the chaos
from the shaman because I feel like that's a good way to get cursed.
Yeah, so what, you're going to rush across the camp towards where, like the outskirts, where you think the tent, his other tent might be?
Yeah. Yep.
I'll try and locate him there.
Yeah, and I figure like the chaos is probably a good thing in that my siblings are like capable of escaping in the chaos. So I'm going to try and make this my last gambit and then probably head to the meeting place.
Okay. Before we deal with that, Sano, what are you going to do? Are you just going to flee to the river and the horses with the monk, or is there something else you want to do here?
I don't think she passed like any weapons stores or anything on the route that she took. And now with the fire and the monk in tow, she'll have to call that her success for the evening. So yeah, she'll head back to the river. Assuming the monk is adjusting his pace not to outrun her.
Kadan, are you, when the commotion breaks off, are you going to use the cover of it to flee or to do further mischief? He's fled already. And what about you, Tanaka?
Oh, further mischief, please.
Sorry, Kadan will beat a hasty retreat back to the river and find a hiding place and cover the retreat of his brothers and sisters with his with his bow.
While you're waiting there, bow in hand, Sano arrives, but not with one of your brothers, with a bloody stranger. But yeah, still no sign of Tanaka or Chuluun yet.
Right, I'll just wait. I'll alert myself to Sanai and then continue waiting.
Yeah, Sarnai looks at Kadan and then looks at the monk. It just doesn't say anything. There's nothing to be said yet.
Captured anyone?
And what's Teneka doing?
Where I was in the camp, I'm guessing the fire is a good bit away from that.
Yeah, that was down near the. That was the fire that Sano lit near where the warriors were branding. So that's kind of like halfway between where the Khan's tents were, like where Lloyd was, and down near the small folk area where you were.
Right, because my idea was to head back towards the kind of food stall area. So would that come across the commotion?
The fire, yeah, that'd bring you closer towards the fire, and yeah.
Excellent. Because I know my siblings. If everyone is running towards some place shouting, they're not there. They're somewhere else. So I'm going to head through the crowd to the opposite side of where everyone's kind of the main kind of force is running from in terms of the warriors and whatnot. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so you're going to go with the tide of people towards the center where the commotion is.
I'm going to be the salmon swimming against that stream. So if they're heading towards the fire, I'm heading through them to the opposite side of where they're coming from.
And where are you trying to getting to go to?
I don't know yet until I get there. I want to see what's on the other side where the warriors. My thing is, if the warriors are all running towards the fire, then there's less warriors where they are, and the warriors will be around the sort of tent kind of area.
They'd be coming closest from where the Khan's tent is at the center.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's where you'd be headed.
Yeah.
So you flip open the curtains to the shaman's outer camp, and the commotion and fire of the Quirish camp, Chuluun, becomes infinitely more distant when you step over the threshold. This place is more humbly caparisoned than the original domicile that you'd intruded on, and quite Spartan and austere for someone of such ornamentation, obviously, as evidence from the Gur. But this one sees like a fine fur set upon the floor, with a chair, a small sleeping pallet, what serves some like food stores and necessities nearby. More a place of tranquility than the other, which has obviously been broken now. but there's a bald-headed man with a black painted face and wide, large ears from which bone trinkets and rings hang. And he doesn't turn to face you, though he does lift up his head as you enter.
I'm going to not try and engage with this man. I'm going to immediately try and kick him in the head as hard as I can. Because if he speaks, he can curse me.
Yeah. Roll initiative then.
Okay.
Do a stealth check if you wanted to be creeping up on him, but I imagine that you were running to this place.
I was running, yeah. I don't think I'd be
So
stealthy.
it wouldn't be a stealth.
No.
Okay, so he knows that someone's running up to his door and that they've walked in, which means they are not subservient to him. It means they are a threat. So roll initiative.
Yes! 19. Fuck, yes.
12. So you step over the threshold and you see him and he goes to speak, but you act first.
Okay, I'm going to attack him 4 times with Flurry of Blows. So 1, 2. Okay, so the first 2 are 16 plus 7 and 13 plus 7. So 20.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's going to hit.
Okay, I'm going to use...
yeah.
I'm going to use Stunning Strike on the first, so he has to make a DC 15 Wisdom save, I think.
Probably.
Con save.
Con is a neg 1, so it's a fail.
Okay, so he's stunned. Fuck yes. So that's the first punch. Oh
Stunned for how long?
Until the end of my next turn. Okay, so actually the second attack would be with advantage then. So the first attack does 9 damage. And then the second does 10 damage. And then I'll roll 2 remaining attacks with advantage because he's stunned. So
And he's stunned next turn, so he's going to be fucking murdered here.
It does look that way. That's a 16 plus 7.
Yep.
And a crit, my lord.
Just give me all the damage all up.
Yeah. So it's going to be 2 and 4, 6 for the first, and then for the crit, 13.
13 damage, that's 8. He is bloodied. And can you please roll a... Sorry, I've got a little tabs open. D100, please.
D100, yes.
Percentile.
55.
Okay. Oh, the crit was as he turned around to hurl a curse at you, and a stone fist has broken his teeth.
Yeah.
Disadvantage on charisma checks. When you cast a spell with the verb...
Yes!
Oh my god, it's
You can
perfect.
just describe... You can just narrate. You can just narrate what happens.
Fuck, man. Wow.
You can just narrate.
So yeah, he runs into the tent and he knows that if the shaman can speak, that he's done for. And so he just like barely even breaks his stride and just runs and kicks him full force in the back of the head. And as he like falls to the ground, he's just gonna like with the stone fist just begin pounding his face, trying to like ruin his mouth so that he can't speak. And then when he thinks that that's under control, he'll like wrap his arm around the man's neck and like squeeze until he stops breathing, and then hold it there for a few more seconds until he stops moving. And then like he'll like look down to make sure that he hasn't been cursed in any sort of like final twitch that the man has done.
Doesn't look that way.
Then he'll sort of like look to the Sky Father and say like it must, or think that it must be ordained, or else this couldn't have happened. And then he'll look around for anything valuable. He'll particularly look on the man if he has any like weird, if he has like a staff of the Kirish or something that might be a symbol, you know.
He does. He has. I'll have to give you the stats of him when I make them.
Yeah, no.
Because I didn't think you'd fight this dude this session. But he does have a staff and a dagger, and you can take the both of them.
Yeah, cool.
And there is heaps of shit in here, like as far as shamans go, but like I don't know if Chuluun would notice any of it. Yeah.
He wouldn't know. Is there a fire lit in here? Candles?
There would have had to have been for warmth to keep him alive, so it would be like either like a low hearth type thing or like an oil heater.
Okay. Then I will set his tent on fire before I run away.
Oh, brutal! So much esoteric knowledge gone.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. Just really like icing on the cake of the tone of this session, anyway. Really,
Yeah,
just add fucking desecration
brutality.
and heresy to it. Yeah, you can do so. And by now, it looks like the camp is beginning to get the handle on the like the Gurs that had caught. I think with this many people reacting to it in winter, it'd be dying down now. So risky to return, given the heightened state of the
Yeah.
camp and the presence of so many warriors now.
Yeah, I would. I mean,
Certainly
if I need to, like, even run the long way around the camp or whatever, to not go back through it.
To get back to the river. Yep.
Yeah.
When you do that, Sanai and Karan are there with a stranger hiding behind like some rocks nearby to where you can see like the frozen snake of the winding.
So I guess Chuluun comes running up with like a staff and a knife, and like skids to a halt and like sees and counts, and then sees this man, and we'll look at Sarnai with like an eyebrow raise, like, who is this?
She like almost shrugs. He's coming with us.
He just nods. Fair enough.
Teneka, you make your way past two warriors who are carrying like a cauldron on a staff between them that sloshes with liquid down towards where the other fire is being put to death. And you can see across like a low fence to where some of the greater kind of Gurs poke up by some central fire. Warriors of no small renown or note, and a man bearing like a Khan's visage and clothing and furs, next to two women, both much younger than him, who have high peaked caps and bands of warriors about them, calling out for confirmations and calling out orders. And you catch your first glance at what you assume must be the Khan of the Kirish. And beyond here, I guess it would just be like another ring of the Gurs of people who have encamped here, most of which are either rushing to assist with the fires or at least to gain vantage to gawk at them. The Khan and his family and closest warriors are staying nearby to the center, and like orders and other folk are outgoing while they remain here. As far as what else that you could see, you would be able to see the Khan's stables within the same kind of ring as his own yurt, sorry, and the yurt presumably of his shaman, given the arrangement of skulls at like the totem apex of that particular structure. Is there anything you wanted to do once that you've got through to this kind of part of the camp?
There's a couple of risky things I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Cons don't take risks.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Maybe he found a fucking bow and arrow and was about to pick it up and shoot the Khan, and then that ragged woman's words echoed in his mind.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, funnily enough. Or one of the things I was thinking.
Something, yeah.
From no, I'm not gonna chance it. It's far too risky. If I see the other fire burning, and I know that there's chaos happening down this way as well, as I say, I know where there's chaos, my siblings aren't, so I'd probably figure it's time to leave. But I so wish I had the balls to sneak into the stables and steal his horse.
Well, to tempt thee like some tree-dwelling serpent, I would tell thee that if you've noticed this fire, so have some of his Noyans and Boyans and the rest of his captains. So another portion of men rush down towards that to where the shaman's presumably at risk. So there is this like moment where I guess the where the Khan is understaffed, though still not certainly isolated or alone with presumably his family members. And the response to if you did want to do something like that would never be kinder, as far as who might try and chase you down or notice you. But yeah, as you said before, it's a massive risk, so it's up to you.
No, it's I think it's too much of a risk. Yeah, no, I'm going to play it safe. Time to. We did what we came here to do.
You don't even know the half of it yet.
Yeah. I think it's time to count the blessings that Dengai has smelled upon us and leave.
So I guess you guys are probably doing a pretty good job down by the river of restraining Chuluun from going back into the camp. But eventually, mercifully, Teneka emerges, manifests out of the inky dark and into your midst, where you can hear from behind him the sounds of general alarm and riders and dogs barking and heightened camp.
Are you pursued? Is he followed? If he's not followed, then we'll just lead the retreat back to where we left the horses and retreat.
Yeah, none of you would have been actively followed, though you can bet once you hear what Chuluun's done that he'll be tracked. So even though you're not followed now, you will be followed.
Yeah, he would have a look in his eyes that says we should leave quickly. And then he will say as much. The quicker we can go all the way back to camp, the better. We should not linger.
Our aim was to draw them out. We have done well. Let's get back to the camp.
So with that, you guys ride off into the night snow back west towards the Marmot Hollows, and we'll find out the repercussions next time on Hordelands.
And the monk's name.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
So grim.